Hello and welcome to today's panel with our incredible speakers for the Women Thrive Summit. I'm so excited to have you all here. Today we're talking about how can women rise to be empowered. This is such an important subject. Today we are celebrating International Women's Day, and of course this month, Women's History Month. And we all want to be empowered. We all want to stand in our power, in our truth, live authentic and truly fulfilling life. But how can we stand in our power? Historically, women have been held back, but sometimes it's not only the society or things around us that holds us back. Sometimes we could be holding ourselves back. So how can we step into our power? I'm so excited to be joined by the Women Thrive speakers today to have this discussion of how can we as women be much more empowered within ourselves, within our businesses and lives. So welcome to our speakers. Welcome to Crystal, welcome to Carolina, Victoria, Regina, Coilette, Monica, Elena, Nitu, and Jan. I'm so excited to have all of you here. I just want to go over just a quick round of introductions before we begin for our audience to get to know you, our speakers. So let's begin with short introductions. Where are you coming from? What is your business? How do you serve the world? And then let's dive into this conversation. I know today is going to be impactful. So if you're watching this, do make sure you stay till the end because I am sure you will be empowered and inspired with this conversation. So let's begin. Who would like to go first?
I can go. Yes. Hi. Hi. So happy to be here. My name is Elena Dacus, and I'm high ticket sales expert. And I help women and female entrepreneurs to stop 90% of stuff that they're doing that's draining their soul, and really radically simplify their business and create more impact with one powerful message and virtual stages. I'm so excited to be here. I cannot wait for the summit and looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much, Elena. I would like to go over to Coilette next.
Well, I'm just ecstatic about being here. I'm so pumped about the summit, basically because you guys are all such phenomenally dynamic women, and I just love that. My platform is helping ladies to unleash the power of their brilliance, and that entails coming face to face with who we are and our uniqueness. We were all created to be different. And it is those pieces of the differences that come together to make a whole. And so the women that I have met here in this sisterhood, getting ready for the summit, has just impacted my life, and I'm sure the lives of each of us, because we each bring a different part to the table to make the whole. So I'm excited about today and talking about empowerment, because we are the epitome of empowerment as being women, and to help others to understand that and embrace that is such a fulfilling and gratifying thing. So hi.
Thank you, Coilette. Appreciate it. I just call names to go on next. How about we hear from Victoria?
Hi, everybody. I'm Victoria Sexton. I'm a financial coach, and I help women create a plan for how to become the wealthy woman that they want to be. So it's really about stepping into the wealthy woman of your dreams. So I'm really excited to be here and to talk about how, which I think is really special, how we can be empowered to rise. I think this is a super important topic, and we need to be having these discussions more often as ladies and as business owners. So thanks, I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much, Victoria. How about we go to Crystal?
Hello, beautiful ladies. I am so excited about our summit that's coming up, and just being in company with so many great, powerful, and amazing women who have all been empowered and inspired on their journeys. And now they're taking the time to inspire all of us on our journeys as well. And you guys, I am going to be talking about how to create the life of your dreams through the power of self-love. Just like International Women's Day, we're talking about being empowered so that we we can rise to our full capacity. And through that, we have to learn how to love ourselves from the inside out. I am a trauma-informed transformation coach, and I help women take that pain that they've experienced in their life, any traumas that they've had, and turn that into purpose and see that they were created with purpose on purpose.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Crystal. Carolina, over to you.
Good afternoon, ladies. I'm very, very excited to be here with you today. It means a lot. And well, I'm Carolina Graes-Melnitsky. I am a marketing, branding, HR, and strategic consulting expert. And I own a business with my sister. It's a B2B sales and marketing firm here in New York. And we help small businesses to help on their brands. And I'm not going to be talking about business on the summit. I am also a dancer. I've been dancing for more than 25 years. And I'm going to be telling my story on how I regained my voice through dancing.
Thank you, Carolina. Appreciate it. Regina, would love to hear from you.
Well, first of all, I want to tell you, your ability to facilitate such an event, I always marvel at it. It takes a special somebody to put together something of this massive proportions and facilitate it and organize it so well. So God bless you. This is not my specialty, but you're just like a pro, absolutely like a pro. So thank you for showing me that this is also possible. I'm a life and business. My name is Regina Gobinis. I'm a life and business strategist 20 years now. And although I began as a business strategist, I realized quickly that our business is really a byproduct of our decision-making ability. And our profitability is literally just a byproduct of the decisions that we make along the way. And our relationships are just a byproduct. So I ended up being a life and business strategist, naturally evolving into that. And truly my passion and what has really monetized for the last 20 years well for me is identifying the truth of the individual, like through the eyes of God, like really who are they? And then helping them collapse time around possibility and building a business that they're excited about, like infrastructure, an actual business, a scalable, sustainable, profitable business. So that's what I do. And online, I do the same, but I lean more towards working with female entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Regina. I love following your stories and your updates. You always show up with so much power. Like, oh my God, this is gold. So I love how you show up on social media. You just keep bringing some gems. Jan, good to see you today. Would love to hear from you.
Hi there, I'm Jan Dowdy, communications coach and freelance journalist, currently residing in the UAE. I help women say what they mean what they say, without being mean. And really that's about empowering women to be the highest version of themselves through communications. And one of the things I'm very keen to emphasize is that a lot of people maybe look at great orators and speakers and think, oh gosh, I could never be like that. And maybe they were born special. There's some magic fairy dust that comes into the hospital room when you're born. That isn't how it works, actually. You can be taught to be an outstanding speaker, and I want the access to be available to everyone. And that's one of the reasons why I actually have a very intentional non-profit element to my business. I do global work in Africa currently with projects empowering women. And now I've just made a new partnership today, actually, with a youth entrepreneur program from one of my clients. We get clients, but the contract ends and the work begins. And that's how so many of these lovely, empowering relationships have blossomed. So really what I want to say is I'm so pleased to be here, and I'm here to help everyone, women, communicate regardless of background or education. I'm Jan, and I'm very glad to be on the panel.
Thank you, Jan. I appreciate you. And last but not least, Monica, good to see you today.
So good evening from Amsterdam. My name is Monica, and I am basically just a normal woman like everybody else. And my business is me, my life journey, who I became through self-development. And I empower women to stop hiding in toxic environments, toxic relationships, especially women who are powerful, ambitious, and maybe even corporate, or the leaders who pretend to have everything, but actually behind the closed doors, there's another story. I love to talk about taboos. I feel confident about that. And what I bring to the panel is authenticity, vulnerability, and empowerment. And my message is that your story matters. It doesn't matter where you are and who you are. It's important to speak and start speaking step by step. Just, do not be afraid to voice your needs. And I'm really happy to be here.
I appreciate you being here. Your voice is powerful and your story is powerful. And all of you ladies, your stories really do matter. And for those of you watching, I want to let you know that your story and your voice also matters. And you can empower yourself. And I hope that this panel will help you feel more empowered on your journey. So the first question I really want to pose is, what disempowers us? How do we end up disempowered on our journeys? Because I see that whether it's the environment around us, whether it's our own mindset, sometimes we as women give away our power. So from your powerful experiences, let's be open in our discussions. First of all, what disempower us? And then let's try and find answers to how to be empowered and stand in our power. Jan, I see you raise your hand to it.
Oh, you've got to start with my favorite topic, haven't you? This is what I teach. This is what I do for my living and my life and my passion. Raimonda, power cannot be taken away. It's given away. And that is something that the moment you understand that, it's game over for anyone that wants to develop a cycle of abuse or intimidation or humiliation, any of those dynamics where you are disempowered. It's impossible to happen unless you surrender to the process. And I want to give one simple point. And as a communications coach, I absolutely alert women to this fact, very much so in my course, actually in the modules of the course. It's the role of silence. Silence is critical for any disempowerment engagement. And anybody who wants to have abuse or power dynamics over someone else, they always choose someone who they can rely on to be silent. Just think about it. Think about anyone you know. Think about any experience, even the cat calling in the street, or years and years of horrible experiences you might have had, whatever level it might have been. That happened because of silence. And also it happened because either people watching around have a collusion in the silence, so the person knows they're free to operate in that manner, whether it's the workplace or the home or whatever it might be. We need to recognize so simply the power of your voice to release yourself from disempowerment. And I found that in my own life experience, situations at school when you're bullied. I was never bullied. I was the smallest. I had glasses at that time. Typically, you'd think I'd be the one bullied. People much bigger than me and stronger than me were bullied because they know Jan would speak up. Jan would go to the teacher. Jan would say no. Jan would step in the playground and say, don't use that racist term. That's not okay. Don't take his ball. You've got to give it back. Once you can speak, you are empowered. And that's the very first sign that you are now free from that dynamic. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Jan. I appreciate that. So powerful. Regina.
I do love what Jan said. I do believe that we give our power away easily, effortlessly on a daily basis. But I think what I will also disempowers us is we take on other people's limiting beliefs. We give people permission to dress us up in their limiting beliefs, in their self-esteem issues, in their lack of confidence. And we, for some reason, don't say fast enough, okay, don't give this to me. Like, this is yours. Go heal it. God bless you. Whatever you got to do, I'm happy to point you to the right direction, but this is not my stuff. And then we believe that it's ours. And we believe that we have these self-limiting beliefs. And when the moment we do, we don't take the action. A very good example, a very good friend of mine, he's like an uncle to my daughters, always limiting beliefs. That's his personality. That's completely polar opposite of me, but we're great friends. I know the family. We practically grew up together. He's part of my family with his wife, with his kids. And I had to tell him at some point, look, I understand that you don't understand. And I understand that you live in fear and you don't want to do anything about it. I said, please respect the way that I live. This is the way you live. We can remain friends, but there is a boundary moving forward. You're never again allowed to tell me what I can do, because that's just what you don't think you can do. I said, that has nothing to do with me. And by putting the boundary in place, I think it created a better relationship and respect for one another and an understanding. But I think we literally give the power away when we believe other people's self-limiting beliefs and we begin to act upon it. And then we don't act, really. I mean, that's how we act upon it. We don't act. So I think that's really disempowering. This is a massive disservice that we do to ourselves. And I've gone through that as well. So yeah.
Beautiful. And I love that you ladies are speaking from your experiences, because that's really important for us to share our own experiences, the moments in our lives when we maybe felt disempowered and we gave it away, and limiting beliefs of others, especially in the family dynamics, or as you're starting a business. It happens quite a lot, more than we probably realize at the time that this is what we're taking on. So I appreciate you sharing that. Crystal, I'd love to hear from you.
Gosh, I really love what Regina and Jan both said. You know, we give away our power, it's taken away. And the fact that those limiting beliefs of other people began to come a part of our identity. And that's what I truly believe. Like, when we've gone through so much trauma, the beliefs of other people have been projected on us so much that we assume that identity, and thus losing our power, our ability to speak, and our ability to really see that our voice matters no matter where we stand. And I love that Regina brought up the fact that boundaries are important, because we have to be able to be okay with setting the line or drawing that line in the sand for ourselves. And if we don't, then we lose that power. So it really boils down to being able to love yourself enough to understand your position in your own life. And me, myself, I've gone through a whole many years of trauma and abuse, starting from early childhood, sexual trauma, and so on and so forth, you know, all the way into domestic violence, where I almost lost my life. And it wasn't until I said to myself that there has to be more to life than this, was I able to really find my own source of empowerment. And I know that, you know, it's the switch of the belief that you have about yourself, but it was a journey to get to where I really believed that my voice had power and that my life had meaning. After you've gone through so much trauma and abuse, it really does take some deep level of self-love and the self-appreciation to understand that it's okay to speak your truth, and it's okay to look at your past and say, I've been through this, but this is not who I am. This doesn't define who I am. And that's where your power starts to kick in, where you really look at your past and say, look how much I've gone through and survived, instead of looking at your power or your past and saying, you know, I'm really sad because all of these things happened to me. There's a difference between looking at your past and being a victim, and looking at your past and being and thinking of yourself as a survivor of those things. So it's the way you see yourself. It's the way you look at your circumstances. That is what ignites that empowerment within you. It's how you see you. And I truly believe that until you can be able to truly love yourself and love your journey and your experience, it's harder to step into that embodiment of empowerment. Because if we see ourselves as small individuals or unworthy individuals, then we will take on that position where we are giving away our power, where people are intimidating to us. But when we start to see ourselves as conquerors, see ourselves as survivors, and you make the decision to say, I choose me no matter what, then that is when you get to step into your power and you get to start using your voice. And the simplest thing I can ever tell anybody is, if you're looking to step into your power, the first thing you have to do is start using your voice. There really is no magic antidote to it. You just have to open your mouth and start talking. You got to make the decision to say, I am somebody and I will use my voice. Just like the other lady said, when you stay silent, silence is a decision as well. And it speaks volumes, even though you're verbally saying nothing at all. It's speaking, it's sending a message out into the environment, into the world, into the energies that you attract, just as much as it does when you open your mouth and you start advocating for yourself. When you open your mouth and you start speaking into the existence of everything that is around you. So if you're looking to be empowered, I encourage you to just open your mouth and speak. Thank you, guys.
Powerful. Crystal, thank you so much. You're so right. You know, it's what you believe, who you are, how big you believe that you are, and that self-worth. When you start to recognize that what you've been through, you're a warrior, you're a winner, you're a conqueror. All of those words that really, really deeply resonated with me. Thank you so much for sharing that, Crystal. Appreciate it. Elena.
Yes, I just loved what Crystal you said, and Regina and Jan. I think it's so true, isn't it? What is the limiting belief? I mean, what is it that's holding us back? If we think about it, the core of it, it's a story, right? It's a story in our head, and it's a story probably someone told us. A man, a parent, a mom and dad, a sister, a neighbor, someone told us some stage, and then we decided to believe it. That's what happened. We decided to believe it, and then we now think it's a truth. You know, my story, when I was growing up, I was told, well, you cannot be anything. The big dreams are for dreamers, not for you. This business will never work. How many times women hear this? This will never work. This is crazy. You shouldn't do that. And it's our choice. But if we decide to believe it, then it becomes part of our identity, which Crystal so perfectly talked about it. And once it becomes a part of identity, and if we subconsciously inside of our self-talk start saying, I am not worthy, I am small, this is not for me, this is what keeps us trapped. So actually the work, and certainly the work that's been my life journey, and certainly the work that we do with my clients, is really unravel those stories, unpick them, destroy them, put the light on them and say, actually, that's not true. Let's reframe that experience. We just said, Crystal said, I'm a warrior. What is that word? Imagine that, the same experience, we now reframed to become an empowering thing. So actually for every woman watching, what is that negative talk? Let's uncover that story and let's look at it from a different lens that becomes your powerhouse, something that ignites and becomes your force for the future.
Elena, I love that. Thank you. The stories, stop believing those stories. You can rewrite that story into a new future. Powerful. Thank you. I appreciate that. Next, we go over to Victoria, then Monica and Carolina.
So one of the things I think is really disempowering is when we have the sense that we're alone, that like we're the only ones that are going through this, that maybe, oh, we're the only ones that are having this problem. And I talk with clients a lot about this because I talk all day, every day with people about their money. And I probably overshare about some of the money and financial challenges I've overcome, because I found that when I share my story, and this is a common theme that we've all been talking about, when I share my story, and how I have overcome my challenges, people realize, oh, I don't have to be perfect. I don't, changes can happen in my life and in my situation. And it empowers others to really have that belief that they can have a different, whether it's a different money story or a different financial situation, whatever it may be. And I think this is why community, like a community such as this, are so important. It's because then we can share our story, and then we can raise our hand and go, hey, is anybody else concerned about things like, inflation or the, cost of groceries or whatever? And then we don't seem so alone anymore, and our problems, we have other people to share in our concerns with. And I think that's empowering in itself, having a community to have that experience with, and really coming up with even a collective answer to what the issue might be. I think that's super powerful.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So true. Just, we feel alone. I felt alone in some times in my life where you feel isolated. You feel like, this is only happening to me. And all the other things that you ladies have said, giving our power away by staying quiet, by not standing up for ourselves, for replaying those stories in our minds over and over again and believing it, and then isolating. And that's what, let's say, perpetrators do to people to disempower. They isolate them. They make them believe that you're the only one, that your voice doesn't matter, that what you have to say or your perspective or your voice is not worthy enough for you to speak up for yourself. And we start to believe that. And unless we step out of it and actually surround ourselves with people who will help us rise, who will help us go up and believe in ourselves, that's when the shift is going to start to happen. So thank you so much, Victoria, for that share. Monica, I'd love to hear from you.
Brilliant. That's what I wanted to say, that actually when I was listening to you ladies talking, I was like, how was it for me those 3-5 years ago? I traveled back in time, and I remember when I was hearing women talking about empowerment and using these terms, I didn't understand what they mean. So sometimes there'll be ladies watching this, and certain words, they will not resonate because your journey, you are just starting, and we are in this group, we were exactly the same 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So just wanted to say that empowerment is feeling that you matter, that your voice matter and your needs matter. It's not the big vision, but your daily needs, your choice of food, your choice of clothing, where you go, who you meet. And what Raimonda was saying, the power of community. What happens that if you surround yourself with people, the same people telling the same stories, if you watch the news, you read the newspaper, and you surround yourself with the same negative information, we are like vase, we absorb it. So the biggest step you can do for yourself is to find a community of high vibing ladies, females, like this, for example. And even if you don't understand what we're talking, the information, the energy will be coming to you. So I'm also energy healer. So I bring an ex-investment banker. But I want to say that even if you do not understand what we are talking about, just stay open-minded and listen, because the information will reach your higher self at a certain point in your life. And yeah, that's it. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Monica. I appreciate it. And your story is so powerful, and what you do. This is, part of what you do. Through our experience, we're able to impact other people. So I encourage every one of us to share, and you listeners today, to share your story. Stand up for yourself. Rewrite your story, because it's possible for us to stand up for ourselves. Carolina.
All right, so yeah, I completely agree with everything you guys said. I really want to talk about the environment, because it's something that it's one of my biggest learnings throughout my process of losing my voice and recovering and gaining back again. I really think that no matter other people can say, the environment matters. The environment where you are matters. It's way more important than you think, because we are human beings, we are social people, right? We want to be with other people. We're not like meant to be lonely or alone. So because we are social, we need other people to be surrounded with. So once you click with the fact that you are able to choose the environment where you want in, that is where all those problems are going to be disappearing, because you're going to be getting back your power, and then your story and your voice is going to rise. The thing is, whenever you believe stories, projections, what other believes, and you let that energy get into your mind and body, that's the issue. That's where the problem appears, right? So the problem is when you believe what other people told us that it's not true. As we already mentioned, Elena mentioned that, Crystal mentioned that, and Monique as well. So the ability to reframe where you are in a toxic environment, that's the key point. Now, what do you do when you are in a really toxic environment and you don't have any support at all? That's the key point. That's the next question, right? So how do you change and keep going? How do you change your mindset or not let others get into your mind so they can project their beliefs, right? So one of the things that I learned, because I had to, is to refrain it. I want to go to those places where I had those issues and change my mindset and have a new experience in that place where I had an issue. So my mind clicks. Now that's very difficult to do because you need to have courage to do that. Many people don't do it. So that would be one of the solutions. And yeah, so be like the message is really believe that you have the ability to choose the people that you are with and the power of the community, power of women in business, power of my dancing community, blah, blah, blah.
Surround yourself with people who actually going to raise you up and not tear you down. How powerful is that when we surround ourselves with people who help us along the way and raise us? Coylette.
I think everything that has been said is extremely powerful, and the fact that most of us have walked through situations ourselves where we gave our power away. But I just briefly wanted to speak to sometimes, I thought Carolina was getting ready to take my thunder, no, because she started talking about the environment. But, you know, there are women who have grown up not necessarily in abusive relationships, not necessarily where people told them what they weren't, but nobody reaffirmed them to tell them who they were. And I think that so often we miss that, you know, either you had strong people in your lives or you had abusive people in your lives. But what about those that didn't have either? They just kind of grew up in a normal household, and because nobody reinforced who their mother was or who their grandmother was. And because it really comes from, you know, a lot of it is passed down from generation to generation. Father just went to work or whatever. You grew up in a normal household, but nobody reaffirmed you. Nobody told you you were beautiful. Nobody told you that you were powerful. Nobody told you or pushed you and said that there is no limit to what you can accomplish. And so I just wanted to speak to that some of the ladies that are watching, maybe they didn't have the trauma of lives that we've had. I've had my own set of trauma, but what about those that just didn't get that nurturing and that affirmation? I think I wanted to point that out because I believe that's where we all come in. I think that's why it is so important for us as a sisterhood to reaffirm the women, to empower the women, to tell them who they really are, to reinforce, you know, the power that they possess that nobody ever spoke to. So that's all I wanted to say.
I clap for you, Colette. So powerful. Yes, cheering you on. I see Regina raise her hand. Did you want to say something towards what Colette just said?
Yeah, I just wanted to add something really quickly. One of the very powerful exercise that I found that I have implemented just on my end, I have people write down all of their self-limiting beliefs, whatever they think they are, whatever they think that it is, just make a list. And then I have them go through the list and attach a name of the person who gave it to them. The point of the exercise is by the time they're done with the list, they rarely have any of their own self-limiting beliefs. Because when they want to work on self-limiting beliefs, the question is, well, you've got like a million, what do you want to work on? But once we go through the list and we really identify that only maybe they have 2 or 3 that actually belong to them, then the path to clarity is much easier. They're not trying to filled through limiting beliefs that were given to them by great grandpa, 75 years ago. Like, we're dealing with what's actually yours. And I've watched this exercise be very powerful. So I just wanted to offer it. I mean, for anybody who can use it, it's a very powerful exercise. I've done it for myself as well. It actually works.
Thank you so much, Regina. Yes, I see your reaction. So we're talking about what disempower us. So what disempowered us before we move on to how can we be more empowered? So I would want to hear just a few more words from Crystal, Elena, and then Tanel, who's joining us a little bit later. What disempower us? And then let's move on to how can we be empowered? Crystal, over to you.
You know what? I think I'm going to answer the next question, so I should wait.
Elena.
But yeah, maybe just to add to what everything's been said, I think it's so powerful, but indeed, I think we have to take this radical responsibility over protecting our mind, like our life depends on it. I mean, if there's one thing, that tool that's been life-changing for me is just being really aware around the people I surround myself with, that we talked about the environment, and you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. It's just the truth of it. And the beautiful thing right now with the virtual environment, you can join groups like this and surround yourself, be an average of these women. Because the thing, and then everything that goes into your mind from the morning you wake up to the 10 o'clock that night you go to bed, you need to guard that space like your life depends on it. And I believe that's life-changing. Why we do meditation, mindset work, why we're listening to podcasts, why are we doing something inspiring? It's all because everything you hear is impacting you. That's impacting your self-talk, that impacting your identity, and that identity defines your life. So yeah, I just want to add that.
It defines your life, but sometimes protecting our minds from ourselves. Because you may not be surrounding yourself with other people or listening to anybody's talk all day long, but what you're listening is your own voice in your own head. So sometimes you got to protect yourself from yourself, your own voice that speaks into you. You got to catch those thoughts and either accept it or throw it away and be conscious of how do we speak to ourselves 24/7. That's what we need to also guard. Tanel, I want to hear from you around the subject of what disempowers us as women.
I would say for me, some of the most disempowering experiences that I had was from childhood trauma. I think some of you already know I went through molestation, I went through rape, I went through physical abuse and a lot of different things. But I think where we have our thread in our head, like intertwined, a little bit balled up sometimes, is when we believe that our trauma is us or our pain is us, you know, or the things that we've been through is us. Sometimes we attach our experiences to ourselves so much that we can't separate ourselves from our experiences and understand that it's something that we've been through, but it's not our identity. And I think when, you know, we get our belief systems like come into play when we believe that that's us. So it's like, I'm broken. I'm not enough. I am not pretty. I am fat. I am not capable. We have all these I am statements. And if we were to sit down to really listen, then we'd hear, wait a minute, that really is not my voice. That's not my real voice, at least. You know, so for me, it was listening to a lot of the voices that came up and the words that came up to put an identity on me that was really not mine because of things I grew up and experienced and walked through. So there are times I felt fat, there are times I felt ugly, there are times I felt like I wasn't capable, I wasn't intelligent. You know, there's a lot of things that spilled out of that. And I had to come to a point where I recognized, hey, that was my abuser. This was the experience, but this is me. And we go through so many things where our family doesn't believe in us and probably society doesn't believe in us. And we begin to adopt their beliefs and their words as if that's really who we are. And I think when we understand that, you know, empowerment, it's like actually EN technically, you know, it means into, and then it means to give strength or might. And there are things that are negative that can give strength to negative things. But then there's a place of empowerment where when we pour into each other, we actually give strength to the positive things. So it's understanding that if this is who I am, I choose to embrace the reality of my identity and to say, I am going to be empowered in the place of where my true identity lies. And I'm not going to give empowerment to the place that I'm broken, quote unquote, or everything else that society poured into me. Right. So like I said, for me, I believe that it came from childhood. It came from the little girl who didn't get what she needed and then grew up and had these holes or these areas lacking. But right now, I would say I'm grateful to God for the places where he filled me up. And for the people that stepped in, and for women like you and elder women and people that came in to really be a voice to, like I said, give empowerment into places that plugged in the places so that I could see clearly and really embrace places of healing. So thank you.
Thank you, Tanel. I love your powerful voice. So I want to wrap this up in terms of what disempowers us and move on to a subject of how can we be more empowered? I know Colette also had some thoughts earlier on a topic that you may want to raise. Was there a topic that you wanted to raise, Colette?
So, excuse me, my topic really was more for tomorrow, but my question was, how many of us are first generational women entrepreneurs? You know, where we have stepped in and broke the mold. We have stepped in and said, you know what, I'm raising the bar for my family. I'm raising the bar for who I am as a woman. You know, not allowing the trauma and the disconnect and the disempowerment that I may have felt in the past to limit me and to say, no, because I'm more than this. I'm better than this. You know, I try and teach even my grandchildren, it's like, you don't look down on anybody, but you also don't stoop to anybody else's level. You make them come up to yours. Okay, so it's like for us to rise up, not to be fearful because it hasn't been done in your family before, not to be fearful, you know, because of traditions and limitations maybe of your culture or whatever it is. Don't allow that to cause you to shrink back. But your empowerment is in the power of who you are and who God created you to be. So step up for that. But yeah, that was it.
Thank you, Colette. So we'll keep that question rolling for tomorrow's panel. But what empowers us, or how can we be more empowered? Let's start that discussion now. And I'd love to hear from all of you to participate in this. And with that, we'll wrap up this panel. So first we had Crystal, then Jan, Regina, Carolina, and then whoever raised their hand next, we'll just go in that order. Over to Crystal.
Okay, I love what all of the women have already shared. And I love that, you know, the women have already talked about how our environment can be disempowering, because one of the things that I mantra in my own life is that your exposure changes your expectation. So what are you exposing yourself to in your day-to-day life? Like someone said, you know, we are the average of all of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So if we are getting around people who are raising that exposure level within us, then we see in ourselves that there is a possibility to be more empowered, to do more, to rise up and really get to a place where maybe we are accomplishing some things that our family members haven't done. And I do believe that, you know, the thing that keeps us from getting there is that we haven't been exposed to a thing. So there was a time in my journey where I was trying to empower myself. And I realized that some of my influences were not just the people in my space, but it was the things that I was watching on TV, the things that I was listening to in my headphones and things of that nature. So if you're trying to be empowered, you got to pour empowerment into yourself. Get around people, listen to things, watch things on TV. Sometimes you got to put down some of the things that you used to do in order to step into some new shoes and start to see yourself differently. You know, one of the things that I always tell people is you got to be able to see yourself higher. You got to see yourself where you're trying to go in order to really get into the mode of getting there. You got to turn your face towards that thing so that you can empower yourself along the journey. And that is through your exposure. So again, your exposure changes your expectations. So if you turn your face toward the thing that you're trying to accomplish and turn your face towards the thing that you're trying to become in your own life, meaning getting in the space, starting to influence yourself in different ways, whether it be what you see on television or what you listen to on your podcast, or even the group of people that you spend the most time with. There's all kinds of group on the internet space that you can get involved in. So where are you spending the most of your time? What kind of exposure is coming from that time spent in those environments? Because it will change the expectation that you have for your future, change the expectation of what you can accomplish for yourself, change the expectation of what is the sky that is the limit. You know, sometimes we say the sky is the limit, but the sky is only what we've seen, what we've heard, what we've been exposed to. So expose yourself to a new sky, expose yourself to a new limit so that you can get to that place where you are not only empowered, but you're empowering other people. And that starts with changing the areas in which exposure comes from. And sometimes it's not just your friend circles, it's everything. It's who you're scrolling past on the internet and who you're listening to on these podcasts, who you're watching on YouTube, you know, even the reels that we're into reels. What are you listening to? What are you allowing to come and penetrate your mental space? Because you become the things that you hear repeatedly. And just like we talked about limiting beliefs and things of that nature coming from other people, those limiting beliefs can still come from your social streaming and all of those things as well. So turn your face towards the thing that you're trying to be, turn your face towards the thing that you want to become, and understand that your exposure is changing that expectation, and it is rising your ability to be able to see yourself higher. So I hope that blesses somebody on today. But those are just the things that I've done in my personal journey to really become more empowered. And now I share that with other people because it's the simple things in life that can change the whole trajectory of where you're going.
Oh my goodness, so powerful. I see all of us just going for it. Yes. And this is why it's so important for us to continuously grow, surround ourselves, see what's possible, be part of events like this, because this is what happens. You see what's possible. Sky is not the limit because someone told us the sky is the limit. There is maybe another sky that we can go to. Oh my goodness, I love your voice. Thank you so much, Crystal. I know Jan is out in UAE, so I want to make sure that we hear from Jan. She might need to drop off. So next over to Jan.
Thank you. For me, as a communications coach, I'm going to talk about words because I'm all about words. All of you've echoed the power of knowledge, language, the input that we give ourselves and the external environment. Words, I'm going to take this to another level now. I did psychological sciences as a degree, and it's proven words literally can change your physical chemistry. I don't think sometimes we actually realize it isn't the ABC of the language. Your neurology, your actual neural network can be built from words. So one of the interesting things in the USA projects in the most deprived areas of the country, where you'd expect high school students and young people to end up in gangs and probably not even make it past 20, they tested this. They actually tested that in the schools, the most rundown, failing schools, they simply did one thing. They didn't change the level of equipment. They didn't change the teachers, nothing. They did one thing. When those students came into the class, they used positive language. Jamal, welcome, Jamal. You're going to have a good day. Alison, you're really, really clever. You're really smart, Alison. Nothing changed. And they just kept going at it. They didn't stop. They just kept going at it. The graduation rate skyrocketed just from changing the language. Their neurology simply said, I'm not a failure. I'm not going to lose. I'm not going to let what's happening over there affect what's happening here, because this is a new dawn. This is a new day. You can literally rebuild and make yourself empowered with words. And that's why people do mantras and self-talk and say, look, you know, I'm going to do this. I know for me growing up, I had a problem at school. I got to school and I was almost straight away, after a week or so, put into a special class for children who were backward. And I didn't feel backward. I thought, what's going on here? I feel quite clever. Didn't like it at all. All this, oh, she's broken, she's not quite well. Turned out one clever teacher, she understood that I performed differently depending on where I sat. And she told my parents, I think your child needs an eye test. Turned out I had an inherited problem, quite severe, almost blind. And then I got my glasses and I became Einstein overnight. I said, I'm not doing that again. Another example at college, actually, I went to a very posh school, and my parents, tried really hard to get me out of the schools which weren't very good. And I was given an exam possibility to go to Oxford and Cambridge. I was of a certain demographic. All the other girls were of a different demographic. And that high school teacher told me, we don't think you're Oxbridge material. I wasn't allowed to sit the exam. All the other demographics, they sat the exam. And I remember I was thinking, I've got to respect my teacher. I shouldn't say anything. 20 years later, I realized, should empower myself, went back to Cambridge and got certified. So you can literally redesign your self-talk. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you. And it's like we take on those beliefs of our environment, what other people, and who do we surround ourselves? When like the teams who perform really well, let's say in sports, is because what is that secret ingredient of those teams performing well? Because there is a belief, there is that winner's mentality. There is someone within that team that has winner's mentality. But when we surround ourselves with those who don't believe it's possible, where we have this mindset of, well, we're losing anyway, we're not the best anyway, we'll never get there. That's when you start to lose. It's that inner belief. Thank you, Jan, I appreciate that. I lost track who is next. Please, someone, okay, Regina next.
I'm going to make this super short, sweet, and to the point. I think for me personally, what I've noticed where I gather the most personal power and self-empowerment is when I literally give myself permission to do whatever it is I feel like doing when it comes to my life, my business, without needing zero external validation. That's it. It's as simple as that. That's it. I don't ask permission. I don't ask for opinions. If people give them, I stop them immediately. I have no problem asking for an opinion. I promise. My word of honor, you'll be the first one I go to when I need one. But this has been, I think, the biggest thing of self-empowerment since I was a child in my life. Just giving myself permission to do whatever I want, whether it works or fails, that's on me. But zero need for external validation. To me, that's where my personal power comes from always. Yeah, that's all I've got.
That's all I've got. I love it. I don't ask for permission. I just do it. That is more powerful than you believe. Because when we ask for permission, we ask for our business permission, we ask from our husbands, our families, people on the street. We ask our coaches for permission to do something. Just do what you want to do. You know, as I say, it's on me. Amen. You know, you take the responsibility. Go ahead, Carolina.
Yeah, Ray, I just want to talk because I need to go as well. Yeah, so I love that. I love that, Regina, and what everybody said. In my experience, whenever I had a really bad environment, the environment I was in was toxic, for example. The key point was questioning what others were telling me. That point when you question if what others are telling, then you let fear go away, right? Because they're saying, I'm not going to believe everything that they told me. I'm going to put fear over there outside. And that's where the point you are able to be curious about discovering new environments, new communities. Whenever you are in that phase where you're saying, okay, now I'm ready to rediscover myself and say, okay, where I want to belong to, where I want to be surrounded with, what I want to do with my life. And that's the key point for me, because that is the point where I regain my power back. I say, I have a story, I have a voice, and I am able to do whatever I want with my life. And what I did is dancing. So I never say enough. Like, choose, if you really want to belong to a dancing community, choose the environment you want to be in. Choose the community you want to be in, because that can take you to the next level.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that and standing in your power, you know, standing for yourself, sharing your voice and just believing in yourself. That's so important.
And sharing your story and telling others that sharing your story is important. It's way more important than you think.
Thank you. I agree. Monica.
Beautiful, Carolina. Love you. Such an amazing story. I thank you so much for all the comments, for what you are saying. And I just also wanted to say that if you want to start the journey of empowerment, it's so important to go within, to, you know, when the environment, you say, who is outside, what you're listening to. But the most important thing is actually your own voice. And if you find yourself in a toxic environment, that is very loud outside, very, very loud. And I'm a very practical coach. So finding a moment for yourself, even going outside or, you know, meditating and just listening, what do I want? And remembering that once you were a little girl, you had dreams. That little girl became a woman, maybe a mother. You always had the dreams. and you had visions like freedom or travel, and connecting with those visions will keep you going, because the environment is temporary, nothing is permanent, it will come, it will pass. And tapping into your vision, so I'm a mum, and for me, my child is my driving force. She's my why. And her children, she's only 9 years old, but other generations, that's what I'm doing. So if you find yourself in some toxic environment, remember what your dreams are and really believe in them. And find a community like this one. Start looking in the mirror and looking at yourself, and really look at yourself for more than 2 minutes and like, wow, it's an amazing woman who is staring back at you. Women don't find time for themselves. They find time for families, shopping, house, animals, but they never find time for themselves. If you allow yourself 5 minutes every day, looking at the mirror into your eyes, it's like, wow, I've achieved so much, and be grateful for that.
Celebrate yourself, ladies. I'm clapping for you. Monica, so powerful. And I know that very exercise has helped you heal on your journey.
Yes.
Doing
my journey, I started just very basic. I started looking in the mirror. Many of you know that exercise, the mirror work. I started looking in the mirror for 28 days and rewired my neural path. And at the end of the 28 days, when I looked at the mirror, and it stayed with me ever since, when I look at the mirror, I see an amazing woman. But 48 years before, I didn't. I saw somebody else. So we can all have the power. It's freely available to every single woman.
Yeah, absolutely. Claim it. Thank you. Who would like to go next? Go ahead.
So I'm kind of with Monica. I think one of the most empowering things we as a woman can do is to fall in love with ourselves, to truly, truly, at the core of who we are, love ourselves, because that's going to change the trajectory of whatever situation you're in. When you begin to love yourself, you'll figure out, I'm not your doormat. I'm not your punching bag. I don't care what you think of me. I love me, and I'm a rise. Okay. The theme of the summit, we rise and we thrive. You do that, as Monica said, starting from within. So when you get to that place of loving yourself, then success becomes inevitable. Rising, taking control of your life, it comes with the territory. So that's just me. One of the most empowering thing you can do is loving you. We give ourselves to everything, but we don't give ourselves to ourselves. So love you. There you go.
Self-worth, that is so important. Love yourself. So much can change in that process. Over to Elena. Thank you. Camila.
Yeah, just wanted to add, I think it's so powerful and so true, and building on what we've just said, not seeking validation, not looking for other people's approval, because you don't need it. I've actually done this exercise, and it was really transformative on me one day. I remember I was sitting in this meditation, and I was going through some emotions, some real painful emotions. And I don't know if you have experienced that. I was sitting in meditation, and my tears were streaming down my eyes. I just had this pain in my chest. And I remember having this vision of my future self, me, but just 5 years from now, came to me in this meditation and gave me this warmest, the most loving hug. And I remember the soothing love I felt. And that was the moment when I realized that I do not need anybody's love. I do not need anybody's approval. Because the love that I felt in that moment from my future self, that wise future self that gave me that hug full of love, it changed it all. And that was the moment where I felt truly that self-love, that completion, that I am complete, because there's this woman, me in the future. It can give me everything I will ever need in any moment. And that was a really big moment for me.
Wow, I love that. That's just so heartwarming. All you need is yourself to be empowered, really. Because we don't need validation. We don't need somebody else to hold us. You're the queen. That's why today we're celebrating each and every one of us, ourselves to start with, for self-love. And we're celebrating you, whoever you're, the woman watching this right now. Victoria, over to you.
And just following what Elena just said, I wanted to share with you, when I'm feeling, I call it kind of wobbly. You guys know what I'm talking about, where I'm like, oh, I don't know, should I do this? When I start feeling that way, I too use visualization and visualize myself, 5 to 10 years out. I call her my wealthy future self. And she's accomplished everything that I want to accomplish. And I will ask myself questions. Like I will be like, should I do this? And most of the time I get very unforgiving answers like, girl, send that email already, or something like that. But I found that that is a way that, because I'm the one person in my life who unconditionally, aside from my husband or my parents or whomever, I want what's best for me. So again, that, following with that self-love, if we can tap into that, we can, look to our future selves to see, really, is this aligned with what I want to do? Really? Is this aligned with where I see myself going? And I think that it can also be really motivating, because if, yes, it's on the path that we should be headed towards, then yes, we need to do it. We need to get off the couch and do it already. So for me, that's something that's been transformational. And I try to, ask my wealthy future self questions whenever I feel stuck.
Recognizing your purpose and being on that journey, going for it. You're here on purpose. We're all here on purpose. We're not here by accident. Give yourself the permission, forgive yourself for maybe not knowing better at certain points in your life. Because maybe you have had to go on this journey. Maybe you have had to go through this experience. Maybe you have had to heal, whether it's your inner child, whether it's your self-worth, whether it's your self-belief, whether you have had to experience in order to be where you are today, so you can be the testament. You can share your story and empower somebody else. You don't know better at certain times in your life, but you do now. You're here. If you're listening to this right now, I think now you have some of the tools to stop disempowering yourself and step into your power. Love yourself a little bit more. I honor each and every one of your voices. Last but not least, I want to hear from Queen Tanel.
Sorry, I got knocked off there for a minute and then I came back on. I'm sorry. But I think, can you repeat the question, if you don't mind?
We're just closing out today's panel on how can we empower ourselves. So I want you to be the closing speaker. I love your voice. And I think this is where we could wrap up today's panel.
Yeah, I think I would say, to empower ourselves, the first thing we need to do is accept ourselves the way we are. I think if I know, as a coach, I know what it means to look at ourselves in the future and to look at ourselves where we came from and to, track our progress. But I think sometimes one of the hardest things for us to do is see ourselves as we are right now in this moment. Because when we look at ourselves, we see our faults, our flaws, the things we wish could have changed. And sometimes, you know what, that's just okay. It's okay, because we've made the progress. We've fought the giants, we've climbed the mountains and done all that stuff. And we have to stop and, and just be grateful for where we are and say, hey girl, you talking about hey girl? I heard you with the hey girl in the email. Like, hey girl, you've been doing good. All right. So we have to just pat ourselves and say, okay, you did good. You did good. You've done good. You've fought, you've conquered, you've won so many battles. Like, you lifted your head up, you wiped your tears, you made that phone call when you needed encouragement. Like, girl, you did it. You did it. You've been doing it. We have to just be grateful for where we are right now in the midst of our faults and flaws, because some of those things color us. We look at it as stains, but sometimes it's literally just coloring us. It makes us different. So I would say one of the ways I empower myself is to see myself as I am and accept me for who I am, irregardless. And I'm grateful for where I'm going, but to make that connection and to have the audacity to go forward and the zeal, the resilience, the boldness to do it, I have to be grateful for where I'm at and say, I know I'm going somewhere, but I sure am good where I'm at right now. I sure am glad for where I came from and where I am standing in the moment, but I know there's great things ahead.
Amen. Thank you to all of you. And what I want to say that I can resonate with each and every one of you. And that's the interesting part, because we have all had different experiences in life. We have walked different walks. We come from different backgrounds. But I can actually see myself a little bit in every one of you, in every story, in every part. That means we're not alone. We're not alone. There were times we've given away our power. There's times that we didn't know better. There was times that we didn't stand up for ourselves. We stayed quiet. There's times where we didn't believe in ourselves enough. And only now, because we have been through that experience, we're actually able to speak our truth. Speak from that experience. Because if you never felt like that, you wouldn't be able to share this today. And there is no shame. There is no shame in at some point in your life not loving yourself, not standing in your power, not standing in your truth, giving away. But you know it better now. And I love what Tanel said, accept yourself now. I struggle with all of those things that we discussed today, right? We all have at some points. But seeing yourself as you are today and celebrate for as far as you have come, as much as you have conquered, where you are, because you can stand in your power, you can make an impact, you can love and appreciate and celebrate yourself, and you may still not be perfect. None of us are. None of us are. Okay, we are humans. But every day we can choose to build ourselves up and be better. Choose to do something about it, pour into ourselves. Allow other people to pour into us that matters to us. Positive things. We heard so many things today, and I appreciate you ladies. I think your voices are all powerful. This has been transformational. I can't wait for this replay to go out to all of our attendees of the summit. And I just can't wait to see you on the summit. Any last thoughts before we close out? Thank you, ladies. I celebrate you. Please unmute your microphones. I would love to hear your last few words, just to say, yes.
My last few words are, if you are viewing this, please, please, please get your ticket to the summit, because you just saw a snippet of us, but there are 30 plus of us, and everyone is powerful and dynamic in her own right. And you've got to experience this life transformational summit. That's what I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you, Colette. Love you.
And I just wanted to say, it just highlights what happens, what magic happens when women come together in a supportive way and talk from the heart and talk about dreams and talk about future possibility, what the magic happens, the energy we all feel that we're sharing, and hope you're feeling that through the screens as well. That's what priceless. That's what gets us going. And that I value that so much.
Yes, thank you. People we surround ourselves. Last words, Crystal, before we close it out.
You know, I just want to say, I hope that whoever is catching this on the replay is finding her courage, finding her strength to step into her power within, and knowing that it doesn't matter what the stories has been, but you have the power to create the ending to your story. And you do that by stepping in your power, using your voice, and getting around people who can empower you and inspire you on your journey. So like Colette said, get your tickets. Make sure you show up to the summit, because there are so many dynamic women who will be sharing their story and empowering you to go forth on your journey and really do what needs to be done. And what's most important, like the lady said, is learning how to love yourself in this moment, in this season, and stewarding this time well, and knowing that everything else is a byproduct. So I hope to see you guys there.
Thank you, Crystal. Appreciate you. Monica, before we close it out, last few words.
I was just tuning in what I'm going to say. So whoever is watching, you already made the first step. And I celebrate you for that. And if you buy a ticket or not, you already are on a journey. And we are doing it for you and for ourselves. So I celebrate every single woman who is watching. If you love what we are doing right now, please share with your friends. The more, the merrier. Together we rise. And I trust to see you in the summit.
Thank you, Monica. To now.
I just want to speak to you, woman, whoever you are that's watching here right now. You're valuable, you're special, you are loved, and you're cherished. And I want to say that, you know, if there was ever an event that you don't want to miss, this is the one. This is the one. You want to be here. You know, this is where you get a chance to change things. This is where you get a chance to be in a place where everything around about you is set for you to move forward. So if you want to be a part of something that really impacts your life for years to come, this is a place to be. So I want you to show up for you. I want you to show up for your children, for your family, for the women that probably may not be brave enough to show up or just may not be able to show up. You show up for them. And when you show up, your future is going to show up. Okay, so can't wait to see you.
Thank you. Clapping for all of you. Thank you so much for all of our panelists today, for sharing the insights, sharing their wisdom, their experience, for pouring into you. If you're watching this right now, I hope that this has been transformational for you. I hope that you walk away in your power. And if this has inspired you, be there for this event, 21st to the 26th of March. Choose the speakers that you want to see, choose the talks that you want to see, be there part of the panels, ask questions, engage, transform your life. And if you feel inspired, invite somebody else, because I'm sure the more people that we can impact, the ripple effect that it could have. If you can be transformed, imagine how many lives that you can touch by you believing in yourself, by you standing in your power and in your truth. How many lives can you impact? That's why I believe that women are so powerful, because when we heal, when we stand in our power, we make impact globally. So thank you all so much. I honor and appreciate all of our speakers and those of you watching, and I look forward to seeing you later this month. Take care for now.